Sometimes life brings you full circle, not to remind you of what you lost, but to show you what you were meant to find. The gymnasium buzzed with laughter and chatter. Posters with glittered letters read "Welcome to Parent Night," and the air smelled faintly of popcorn and fresh paint. David adjusted his worn-out jacket and glanced down at his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, who was clutching his hand tightly. "You okay, sweetheart?" he asked, forcing a smile. She nodded, her small backpack bouncing. "I just hope my teacher likes the cookies we baked." He chuckled softly. "She'll love them. You made them with extra chocolate chips, remember?" David didn't belong here, or at least that's how he felt. Other parents wore crisp suits and designer shoes. He was a mechanic, his hands still rough from long hours under hoods of broken cars. He had promised Emma he'd be there for every school event, even if it meant skipping extra shifts that could have helped pay rent. Tonight, though, felt different, an unsettling pull in his chest, as if the past was waiting for him somewhere in that brightly lit gym. The principal began announcing introductions, and one by one, teachers stepped up to the microphone. Then the lights shifted, and a poised woman in a sleek navy suit took the stage. Her voice, steady, elegant, familiar, echoed through the hall. "Good evening, parents. I'm Claire Thompson, the CEO of the district's new education initiative, here to introduce our partnership program." David froze. His breath caught halfway in his chest. Claire Thompson. The name he'd whispered 1,000 times in the quiet nights after she left. His first love. The woman he thought he'd spend forever with. And now, she was standing right there, confident, graceful, untouchable. She hadn't changed much, except her presence felt sharper now. Dawn was the shy girl who once danced barefoot in summer rain. This Claire radiated power. And yet, when her eyes swept over the crowd and landed on David, time folded in on itself. Her smile faltered. For a moment, it was as if no one else existed in that room. Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, do you know her?" He swallowed hard. "Yeah. I used to." After the presentation, parents mingled, sharing polite smiles and coffee. David tried to slip out quietly, but fate wasn't done. "David?" The voice was soft but carried the weight of years. He turned. Claire was there, holding a cup of coffee, her eyes filled with something between disbelief and longing. "Claire," he breathed, unsure if saying her name would break the fragile air between them. They stood in silence for a beat too long. Then she smiled, small, hesitant. "It's been a lifetime." "Feels like it," he replied. "I heard you moved back to town." "Yeah. After Emma was born, I needed a fresh start. Guess I picked your town by accident." Her gaze flickered to Emma, who was busy chatting with another kid nearby. "She's beautiful," Claire said softly. "She looks like her mom." "She does," he whispered, a hint of sorrow hiding behind his smile. "Her mom passed when Emma was 2. Claire's eyes softened. "I'm sorry, David. I really am." He shrugged. "Life happens. You just keep going." They talked a little longer about work, about the town, about everything but them. But beneath the polite small talk was a storm of memories. Late-night drives. Promises whispered under starlight. The breakup letter she'd left when she chose college overseas over their small-town dreams. When they parted ways that night, neither said goodbye. Both simply knew the story wasn't over. The following week, Claire found herself thinking about David more than she should have. She tried to bury it beneath spreadsheets and board meetings, but every time she saw Emma's smile in the school corridors, it stirred something in her. A warmth she hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, David couldn't shake the encounter either. Claire was no longer the girl he used to love, she was the woman who'd built empires. But behind her polished confidence, he saw the same tenderness she used to hide from the world. He found himself replaying that moment in the gym, the way her eyes lingered just a second too long. Their paths crossed again at a school fundraiser. This time, it wasn't coincidence, it was choice. Claire had volunteered to organize the event, and David, despite his exhaustion, had agreed to help repair the school's broken sound system. When he arrived, she was already there, sleeves rolled up, laughing as she tried to hang a banner that kept falling. "You still can't tie knots," he teased, stepping closer. She turned, mock offense in her eyes. "And you still show up uninvited." He grinned. I was told you needed help. She paused, her voice softening. Maybe I did. Hours passed like minutes as they worked side by side. They really talked, for the first time in years. About regrets, about dreams they once shared, and about how life had turned out differently for both of them. At one point, Claire looked at him, her expression unreadable. I used to think leaving was the bravest thing I ever did, she said quietly. But now I realize, maybe I was just scared. David met her gaze. We were young. You wanted the world. I just wanted us. There's no villain here, Claire. Still, she whispered, I wish I'd come back sooner. He smiled sadly. Maybe this is sooner. That night, after the event ended, Emma ran up and hugged Claire goodbye. You're nice, she said brightly. Daddy smiles more when you're around. Claire froze, her eyes glistening. David looked away, his heart aching with a mix of hope and fear. Days turned into weeks, and what began as small conversations became longer meetings, coffee breaks, then dinners. Emma adored Claire, and Claire, despite her carefully guarded life, found herself falling for the simplicity of David's world, the laughter, the warmth, the sincerity she'd lost chasing success, but the past had its claws. A rumor spread that the CEO was dating a mechanic, scandalous in her corporate circle. Investors questioned her judgment, and she faced pressure to end it quietly. David found out before she could explain. So that's how it is, he said bitterly. You can build schools for kids like mine but can't stand beside one of their parents? It's not that simple, she pleaded. This could ruin everything I've built, everything I've worked for. He stepped back, hurt flashing in his eyes. You built walls, Claire. Not everything. She stood frozen as he walked away. That night, Claire sat alone in her office, staring at her reflection in the glass window. The city lights blurred, and for the first time in years, tears fell freely. The next morning, parent night came again, this time for the end-of-year celebration. Emma had a surprise performance. She stood on stage, holding a small card. This poem is for my daddy, she said, and someone special who made him smile again. Her words were pure, innocent. About love that forgives. About finding home again. And as she finished, the crowd erupted in applause, but Claire didn't hear any of it. She was already walking forward. David looked up, stunned, as she climbed the stage steps, tears glistening. You were right, she said softly. I built walls so high I forgot what it felt like to be human. I don't care what I lose, David. I just don't want to lose you again. He stared at her for a long moment, then smiled through the ache. Took you long enough, he murmured, as she laughed through tears. The crowd watched in silence as they hugged, two hearts finding their way home after years apart. Sometimes, life doesn't give you a second chance. But sometimes, when it does, it's not about reliving the past. It's about rewriting it with the courage to love again. And as the lights dimmed, little Emma clapped the loudest, because for the first time, her family felt complete.